Welcome back to Sleepy Hollow and Beyond. I'm Nick.
And I'm Leah. Just a few miles from the bustle of New York City lies a time capsule of American history. Welcome to St. Paul's Church in Mount Vernon, a place where colonial roots, Revolutionary War stories, and architectural heritage come together in powerful ways. If you're interested, keep it right here.
We booked our tour today through the National Park Service website, which we will link below. The price was $1 per person at the time of filming. Our tour began in the museum, which is housed in what was the carriage house for the church. It was built in the 1830s and later expanded to be the parish hall. It was a multi-purpose building that saw use as a stable, basketball court, dance hall, meeting hall, and even a residence for soldiers returning home from World War II. It's fitting that the building that saw so many functions is now the building that tells you about each of those functions. Inside, you'll see a short video about the history of the site, as well as exhibits about the election of 1733, the American Revolution, colonial life, and the development of the National Historic Site. I especially like the dioramas. This one depicts the site during the Revolutionary War. You'll notice the incomplete church being used as a field hospital and barracks site, as well as the original wooden church, in a state of mid-demolition, having been torn down by the Hessian soldiers and used for firewood.
The story of St. Paul's begins in 1665 when the Church of England established a parish in what was then part of the colony of New York. The congregation was one of the earliest in the region and originally met in a simple wooden structure. Construction of the current stone church began in 1763, but wasn't completed until 1787 due to interruptions from the Revolutionary War. That makes this building over 235 years old and one of the oldest continuously used church buildings in New York. St. Paul's played a unique role in the American Revolution. The Battle of Pell's Point, fought nearby in 1776, was part of the campaign to control New York. While no shots were fired on church grounds, the site served as a hospital and military camp, and the unfinished church was even used to quarter troops.
Beyond its military history, St. Paul's was the heart of a growing colonial community. It was a place of worship, a political forum, and even an early election site. In fact, a contested 1733 election held here helped lay the groundwork for the American principle of freedom of the press, after a local printer, John Peter Zenger, was arrested for criticizing the British governor. Zenger's acquittal would become a landmark case in the American legal system.
The organ in the church was installed in the mid-1830s, and except for a modification that made the air pump work off of electricity instead of a hand pump, the organ is still in original and working condition. Our guide even gave our kids a tutorial on how to operate it and then played a few songs for us.
The organ isn't the only impressive piece of hardware that belongs to St. Paul's. Let's talk about the bell. The bell was cast in 1758 and is considered to be a smaller cousin of the Liberty Bell because it was cast in the same London foundry. During the Revolutionary War, the bell was hidden for fear that it would be melted down for military use. Some accounts suggest that it was George Washington himself who issued this directive. In the mid-1780s, the bell was retrieved from hiding and for the first time raised to the steeple of the newly constructed and still unfinished stone church that you see today. It stayed atop that steeple until 1941, when it was removed and traveled across the country for display at bond drives during World War II. It became a symbol of our nation's heritage and helped make the war bond campaign a success. In 1945, it returned home and has remained in the steeple of St. Paul's ever since. And as a special treat, both of our children were given the honor of ringing the bell.
Look up at it. Beautiful.
You did it! Wow! You rang a 300-year-old bell. Good girl!
So you rang one of America's oldest.
By the early 20th century, the church had fallen into disrepair, but thanks to preservation efforts including its designation as a National Historic Site in 1943, St. Paul's was restored and opened to the public. The restoration was spearheaded by Sarah Delano Roosevelt, FDR's mother. She used her influence as the president's mother to gain the financial resources to restore the church to what you see today. President Roosevelt even donated to the cause by funding the restoration of a pew box that had belonged to his ancestor, Jacob Roosevelt. Today, the site is managed by the National Park Service, serving as a museum and educational center. Visitors can explore exhibits on colonial life, attend concerts, or take part in living history events. Next stop on the tour was the cemetery. I don't know about you, but we love a historic cemetery. They are filled with the most interesting stories from people that shaped these places. This cemetery is no different. Today, the churchyard holds the remains of veterans from every major American war, including dozens from the Revolution. One such Revolutionary War veteran is Theodosius Fowler. Fowler's father, Jonathan, was well known in town and is even credited with developing the plans for the stone church. He, along with the rector of the church, Reverend Samuel Seabury, were known to be some of the most prominent loyalists in all of Westchester. But Fowler's son Theodosius didn't share his father's views and enlisted in the Continental Army and fought in the battles of Long Island, Saratoga, Monmouth, and Yorktown. When the war was over, around 200 acres of land that were owned by Jonathan Fowler were seized and given to his son. Father and son were said to have never spoken again, but to not leave his parents homeless, Theodosius gave them 2 acres to live on for the rest of their lives.
St. Paul's Church is more than just a building. It is a witness to centuries of American struggle, change, and progress. Whether you're a history buff, a student, or just curious, A visit here connects you to the living past. If you enjoyed this look at one of America's hidden historic gems, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next journey into the past. And let us know in the comments, where should we explore next?
It's old, it's old.
That one or that
Yeah,
one?
the one on the left. Here, do you see this letter? What letter do you see there?
V?
Okay, a V, good. You see anything else?
A? Maybe a W?
What's this letter? E. How about a number down there?
4?
Yeah. This is the oldest in the whole county, one of the oldest in New York. Here we are right behind the church.
whole county,
All right, I got